Before we start, if you're new here and enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe for more NBA content like this. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Be sure to leave a like as well if you enjoy, it really does go a long way. Kyle Lowry has had a solid 2020 NBA season and is a fan favourite north of the American border. In the absence of Kawhi Leonard, Lowry has stepped up and he's been a big reason why the Raptors are where they are now in the standings. But how good is he actually? Some people are a big fan of Lowry and rank him quite high, whilst he has a few haters who think he's overrated, so where people place him is often inconsistent. In today's video, I will hopefully clear up some confusion by looking at Kyle Lowry's game, where I believe he ranks amongst his peers across the entire NBA, as well as where he ranks in the NBA for his position, the point guard spot. Again, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe to help me hit 10k, but with that all being said, let's talk about Kyle Lowry.
Lucas.
As I mentioned, Kyle Lowry had a solid year this season for the Raptors. After the Raptors lost Kawhi Leonard, Lowry had to step up offensively, and he has, averaging 20 points per game and 7.6 assists, which is 6 more points per game than he averaged in the 2019 season. Lowry has been a positive on both ends for the Raptors this season, with a 2.5 offensive box plus minus and a 0.9 defensive box plus minus. He brings a lot to the table for the Raptors with his elite passing / playmaking and his finishing abilities, but the one thing that stands out for me the most with Lowry is his high energy defense. Lowry is a very good defensive player, especially for his size, and the thing he does best is take charges. He's second in the league in charges taken per game by players who have played a minimum of 40 games this season, with 0.59 per game. Overall, Kyle Lowry has been a key part to the Raptors' success this season, and even with the big loss of Kawhi Leonard last off-season and numerous injuries to the team throughout the season, Lowry and Toronto have persevered and are now in a perfect position to try get to the finals for the second year in a row. But how good is Kyle Lowry exactly? Firstly, let's compare Lowry to NBA players at his position and see where he ranks as a point guard. Before we get into it, this is not based specifically on this season, so guys like Curry are still included. Anyway, with that said, let's get right into these comparisons. Firstly, let's look at players who I believe are undoubtedly better than Kyle Lowry. In my opinion, Stephen Curry, Luka Doncic, Damian Lillard, and Russell Westbrook are all better than Lowry without much debate at all, and guys like Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving I also believe are better, but I think there could be arguments made over Lowry being better, but I still think it's kind of obvious that those guys are better than Kyle Lowry. Again though, a case can be made for Lowry being better, but in my personal opinion, he is not. For who Lowry is better than, I think he's quite clearly a better player than guys like De'Aaron Fox, Mike Conley, Eric Bledsoe, and Jamal Murray. There is not much contest there in my eyes. Sure, there are cases to be made for some of them, but in my opinion, none of them have the impact and talent that Lowry has showcased these past few years on Toronto. Now, let's get into the real gritty part of the debate, as from here, it's not too obvious where Lowry ranks. There are a few players he's close to and are hard to split apart, so I'm going to look at them now. The first guy is Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker has been a great addition to the Celtics this season and has been the unselfish leader they were after in Kyrie Irving. Though his stats aren't great to look at, Kemba's taken a big leadership role at Boston, and him taking a step back has allowed Tatum and Brown to explode this year, which has been great to see, so you have to give credit where credit is due. However, is Kemba better than Lowry? It's actually a lot closer than it seems. Whilst Kemba is a much better offensive player, He can create his own shot a lot more easily and is overall a better shooter and scorer than Lowry. Lowry is a better defender and he arguably makes a bigger impact. This is a very close one, but if I had to say, I'm gonna go with Lowry by a hair. It's basically even for me. I can't really choose, but again, if I have to, I'm going Lowry, but only just. It depends on the day, to be completely honest, but I've been impressed more so by Lowry than Kemba this season, so I'm going to take him today. Let me know who you think is better in the comments below, but now let's move on to the next comparison. The next player I want to compare Lowry to is Chris Paul. And these guys are both very similar, which makes this probably the hardest pair to split apart from maybe Kemba. They're in very similar situations, similar ages, and play style, so if you choose one over the other, I couldn't be mad at you. I think it's a matter of preference on this one. But in my opinion, I'm going to have to barely give this one to Chris Paul. Whilst Lowry does average a couple more points and assists, CP3 is much more efficient and is playing behind / alongside 2 other guards and 3 other legitimate scorers, those being Gallinari, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Schroeder. Lowry, on the other hand, really only has Siakam and VanVleet ahead of him offensively and is utilized much more on offense than CP3 is, but has a similar statistical output. To prove that, Paul has a 13.3% usage rate this season, and Lowry has a 23.3% usage rate this season. Coming into this season also, the Thunder weren't expected to be a playoff team at all, and are now the 5th seed, so that helps prove his impact. Again, it's very, very close between the two, and if you choose Lowry over Paul, I don't blame you, as Lowry has an equally good case as Paul, but personally, I'm gonna have to take CP3 on this one. The final player I want to compare Lowry to is Trae Young, and I'm taking Kyle Lowry here. I would say Trae Young is better than Lowry, but his league worst defense is too hard to look past. If Trae becomes a respectable defender, he's probably a top 6 or 7 point guard in the league right now, but due to his atrocious level of play on that end of the floor, he has to be below guys like Lowry. His defense is honestly why I have Lowry over him quite comfortably, if I'm being honest. Offensively, Trae is a better player, but that gets cancelled out by his lack of defense, so Lowry's overall great offense and great defense outweighs Young's elite offense, if that makes sense. So overall, I'd have to say Lowry is the 8th or 9th best point guard in the league, depending on if you have Kemba Walker over him or not. Let me know if you agree with that ranking below, but with that being said now, where does Lowry rank in the entire NBA? In my opinion, I think Lowry is around the 25th best player in the NBA, give or take a couple spots, and that's fair. He's nowhere near as good as the superstars of the league like LeBron and Giannis, still a fair bit off guys like Paul George and Russell Westbrook, but he is an all-star caliber player, so I think this is a good spot to place him. Guys like Tatum, Booker, Klay Thompson, etc. I have just a few spots in front of him, and to say he's on a relatively level playing field to them is fair in my opinion. So again, I think anywhere from the 23 to 28 mark is a good place to put him. Overall, these are my thoughts on Kyle Lowry. He's a great playmaker and elite defender that's been a vital player in keeping Toronto's hopes for a surprise back-to-back run alive, even with the loss of Kawhi Leonard. In my opinion, Lowry is a top 8 or 9 point guard in the NBA, and out of every NBA player is around the top 23 to 28 mark. The Toronto Raptors have been a surprise team this year thanks to Kyle Lowry stepping up across the board and providing some expert leadership for this relatively young team. Now, Toronto are one of the biggest underdogs in the league and could be in competition for their second finals appearance in 2 years, especially considering how rough the Bucks have been playing lately. if Lowry is consistent these playoffs, continues to provide constant energy defensively, and his playmaking stays at its elite level, there is no doubt in my mind this team can shock the world again in large thanks to him, and it would yet again improve his legacy as the greatest Raptor ever, a chance that I highly doubt he'll want to miss. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? How good is Kyle Lowry to you? Is he a top 20 NBA player? Where does he rank among point guards in your opinion? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.